Okay, it's time to get started. Thank you everyone for joining our live lecture today. My name is Isaac and I'll be the lead instructor for the lecture. And today's topic is going to be database foundations in NoSQL. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by navigating to mongodb.com. Let's go ahead and talk about what kind of database this is. Okay, so this is a NoSQL database, okay? And there are other kinds of NoSQL databases out there besides MongoDB, but MongoDB is one of the most used today and definitely the most one of the most employable, okay? So you're going to need to download this on your machine so we have access to the Mongo shell. That way we can communicate with our database from our local machine, okay? Next, after we've downloaded that, you need to go to mlab.com and you need to sign up for a free account. And mlab is a cloud provider, which basically is going to allow us to store data in the cloud versus on our own machine. And as you can imagine, that's going to be much more efficient. So once you've signed up for a free account, the next step is let's go ahead and create a database. Okay, so I'm going to select Create New. And then from here, I'm going to select Amazon Web Services as my cloud provider. And then I'm going to select Sandbox because it's free. And then we will continue. Next, I'm going to select the region nearest me. And I will continue. And then I just need to select or enter my database name, which I'll just call CoderCampsDB. And we'll continue. Verify the order and submit. Okay, so from here, we'll just give it a few minutes to finish that up. And all right, all looks good there. So let's navigate into CoderCampsDB. And let's talk about what's going on in here. Okay, so the NoSQL database is going to basically allow us to insert insert data without a predefined schema. Okay, so what I've got are groups of data referred to as collections. And within those collections, I've got individual records referred to as documents, okay? And so the great part about MongoDB is because it's a NoSQL database, I don't have to create tables or anything like that before I insert data. I can just start inserting it and it will just take it, okay? So this is why it's really good for scaling and rapid development. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this users tab now, okay? So just like we have, a account user right here, right? This would normally be like a company. And so within the company, there would only be certain engineers who would access to the database. So we're going to want to add at least one of those. So I'm going to add myself, and I'll just do 1, 2, 3 for the password and create. Okay. So from here, we have two options, connect with the Mongo shell or connect using a driver. And I'm going to connect with the Mongo shell because if you remember, that comes with the installation of MongoDB. So let's go ahead and copy that and head back to our desktop, open our command line. And from here, let's go ahead and let's say Mongo, and then we'll go ahead and paste in that connection string, okay? So place the, there we go. Let's try this again. Oh, it looks like it's actually entering it. Oh, I got an extra space here. Okay, let's try this again. I'll just copy this part. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to back this up and I'm going to change these placeholders out for my real database user and password. Okay, so if you remember, I named it Isaac and I named my password 1, 2, 3. Okay, so from here we can hit enter, and as we can see, it connects. Okay, so we are officially connected to our database from our local machine. Okay, so this is really exciting. So now we can perform operations within our database. Okay, and there's 4 very common operations in regards to databases. Okay, and it's referred to as CRUD. So CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so let's see how we can use our Mongo shell right here to perform those operations. So let's start with creating or inserting data. Okay, so we come back to our database here, and let's create a collection for a specific data type. Let's say for cars. Okay, so we'll say add collection, and we'll say cars create. Okay, so as you can see, this collection has no documents in it at the moment, so let's insert some documents. Okay, so how this is going to work is we're going to say db dot cars dot insert one. There we go. And then we're just going to enter key value pairs, just like, you know, an object. So I'm going to do a year and a type of car. Okay, so let's do type, and I'm going to say Tesla. Okay, colon or comma, and then let's go ahead and do year, colon, and I'm going to do 2017. Okay, we'll close that off and hit enter. And as we can see, it says, you know, inserted, acknowledge true. And you might notice there's this, you know, ID that gets produced. Okay, so we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go ahead and let's head over to MLab and let's refresh. And when we refresh, we can see that we no longer have an empty collection. We actually have one document. So let's click on our collections. We can see the details of that document. So as you can see, the type and year is just how we entered it. And now we even have this ID. Okay, so it automatically created this ID for us, and we didn't have to do that ourselves. Okay, so again, we didn't have to establish a table or any kind of blueprint structure. We just said to insert this data, and MongoDB just took it willy-nilly. So let's go ahead and let's practice this a little more. Let's insert a couple more cars. So I'll say db.cars.insert one, and then we'll say type, and let's say Mercedes, and the year is going to be 2000. Okay, looks good there. Enter. Good. Okay, and last, let's say db.cars.insert one, and let's do type BMW. Oops, BMW. There we go. Okay, and the year, let's make 2006. Okay, looks good there. So as you can see, inserting, not really complicated, right? Pretty straightforward. So I can just refresh now. And as we can see, now we have 3 documents, and they all have unique IDs. So what's really great about this is if, say we have 2 cars of the same type, we can still separate them because they have a unique ID. Okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and let's talk about the different ways we can query a document. Okay? So we've already created some data. Let's read some data. Okay? And this comes in many different forms. Okay? We can ask for all the data. We can ask for very specific parts of the data. So let's learn how we can do both of those. So let's just start off by getting all cars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say db.cars.find, and I'm just going to pass in an empty filter. So if I pass in, say, type Tesla, then it will only return cars matching that type, right? But if I just pass in an empty filter, it's actually going to just return everything in that collection. Okay, so let's go ahead and execute this. And as we can see, we have all 3 of the documents in that collection that were returned. Okay, so that's how we can retrieve all, you know, documents in a collection. Now let's talk about how we can find documents by equality. Okay, so again, if we want to find cars with the type of Tesla, for example. So I'm going to say db.cars.find, and then we're going to say type, and then we will say bling eq is equal to, and then we will say Tesla. Okay, And then we'll go ahead and we'll pass in, oh, yeah, getting these mixed up. EQ type Tesla. There we go. Okay, so now it's going to find all cars, documents associated with the type of Tesla. We hit enter. Oh, yeah. I forgot a bracket here. Let's try that again. db.cars.find blank EQ type Tesla and execute. Let's see here. Am I missing? Oh, I'm mixing these around. So we're saying db.cars.find. Then we say type. And then we'll pass in equal to. And we'll say Tesla. There we go. Okay, so as we can see, now we only get one document back, and that's the type of Tesla. Okay, so now we're using this filter to filter out everything else that's not equal to that. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about finding documents with comparison operators. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to find all cars with the year greater than, let's say, 2006. Okay, so I'm going to say db.cars.find. Okay, and then let's go ahead and pass in greater than. Okay, and then we will say the year is 2006. Oh, mix that up again. Need to swap that around. So we'll say db.cars.find, and we'll say year. That's right. Which is greater than 2006. There we go. Okay, so as we can see, it only returned the Tesla, right? Because it has 2017. But both of these were not greater than 2006. So it did not return those. Okay, so as you can see, lots of different ways to query so far. So we're going to go over even more. But before we do that, now that we're up and running, let's go ahead and take a quick second to pause and see if anyone has any questions. Okay, so if you have those, feel free to ask them now. Nothing so far? Okay, all right, well, if that's the case, let's go ahead and continue. Next, let's talk about how we can do less than as well. Okay, so let's find all cars less than the year 2006. Okay, so we'll say db.cars.find, let's say the year, and we'll pass in less than 2006. Okay, and from here, we'll go ahead and execute that. We can see it only returned to Mercedes because one car is equal to 2006, one car is greater than, and the Mercedes is the only one that is less than. Okay, so that is how we can find things with comparison operators. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about logical operators, okay, and how we can combine multiple queries together. So let's establish. Let's say we're trying to find all cars with a year greater than 2005 but less than 2010. Okay, so how we would do this is we'd say db.cars.find, and then we would use the AND operator. Oops, here we go. and we would start by passing in an array, okay, and then we're going to pass in each of our queries. Okay, so let's start off by finding all cars, again, greater than 2005. So we're going to say year bling greater than 2005. Okay, then let's put a comma. Okay, and let's do another query. Okay, and we'll say year is year is bling less than 2010. And then we can close up that array, and we can also close the AND operator, and finally we can execute. Okay, and you see how it only returns one document, okay, because BMW is the only vehicle with a year greater than 2005 but less than 2010. Okay, so again, we can really have fine-grained control of our queries with, you know, all these different operators and, you know, approaches. So next, let's talk about how we can find documents by existence. Okay, so for example, if we want to see if someone, you know, has a value for their birthday, right? Maybe that's an optional field, and if they do, we want to send them, you know, a birthday email. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do a query for, let's say we want to find cars that have a color, which we know that document doesn't exist, but that'll be a good case to show off how this works. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's say db.cars.find. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass in color, and I'm going to say bling exists. Okay, and I'm going to say true. Okay, now let's close this off. Now, as you can see, it did not return anything, right? Because I don't have any documents which have a field of color, right? They only have a field of year and a field of type, okay? So this is how you can see if something exists. Right, so moving forward, let's talk about projections, okay? So a projection is just basically querying only the data you need off of a particular document and not just the entire thing, okay? And that's mainly for performance. So let's say we only want to get the type from one of these vehicles. We don't care about the year. Okay, so if that's the case, we can do this. We can say db.cars.find, okay, and we're going to pass in empty object there, and then we'll say type, okay, and I'm going to say true. Oh, actually 1 equals true, 0 equals false. So we'll just do it that way. And then from here, it's only going to return the actual types, okay? So as you can see, we have types, but we don't have years. And as you notice, it returns this ID by default, right? So a lot of times you're going to want that, but sometimes you might not. So if you want to disclude specific items, you can use a 0. So we could say db.cars.find, and we could pass in empty object here, and then we will say type is 1, and underscore ID is 0. Okay, and now you see we're only getting the type, not the ID, not the year, only the type, okay? And that's how we can set up a projection. So moving on forward, let's go ahead and let's talk about how we can update and delete documents, right? Because we've already explored how we can create them and how we can query them many different ways. So now let's finish the CRUD operations. Okay, let's start by updating our Tesla to a different year, okay? So let's say we're just updating from the 2017 model to the 2018. So how we would do this is simple. We would say db.cars.update1, and then we need to set up, the ID of which we want to update. Okay, so in our case, we want to update the specific type, right? So we're going to do Tesla. So I'll say type. Okay, we'll say Tesla. Okay, and then let's go ahead and let's put a comma, and then we're going to pass in what we're updating. Okay, so I'm going to say bling set. There we go. And then we're going to set the year to 2018. Okay, so I'm going to say year. And let's say 2018. And then let's say upsert. Okay, this just means you're replacing the entire document instead of just updating, patching it. Okay, so we'll upsert and we'll say true. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that off. And we'll close that off. And yeah, invalid ID. Let's try that again. So I'm going to say db.cars.update1. I think I missed a bracket or something. Let's try Tesla or type equal to Tesla. Bling set. Oh, I didn't mean to hit enter. Let's try that again. db.cars.update1. There we go. Okay. So we're going to say type Tesla, comma, bling set. We'll set the year to 2018. And then we'll close that. And we'll close that. Oh, wait, yeah. Almost forgot our upsert here. So let's say upsert true, close, close, close. Invalid property ID. db.cars.find update type Tesla, setting year to 2018. Let's see here. I don't think my upsert is in the right position. Let's try this again. Okay, so we will say type equals Tesla. And then we'll go and put a comma, we'll put bling set, we'll put year, and the year we'll say 2018. comma, upsert, true, close, close. Oh, I missed the ending bracket here. Okay, so let's just copy this. And there's a bracket there. That will end our first one here. And our second. One moment, folks. Seem to be having technical difficulties here. Unterminated string literal. Okay. T.cars.update one. Updating the type to of Tesla. Okay. We are setting value of year to 2018. And we are upserting true. And we are closing that off. That is so weird. Unterminated string literal. Okay. Maybe does not like our oh. Yeah, my year doesn't have an end quote here. Okay, I think I just keep missing one thing or another, and that's just enough. Okay, let's try this again. Type Tesla. Set. Let's set the year to 2018. Okay, so that one closed. And then we'll say upsert equals true. Close that off. Close that off. There we go. You know, 12 times a charm, but hey, it worked. So yeah, just very careful with your syntax. That's the lesson here, okay? But as you can see, it said it modified the year of our document, okay? So let's go to our collection here and let's refresh. Okay, so we're refreshing. Now we can see that Tesla is no longer 2017, it is 2018. Okay, so we've successfully updated a document. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's remove a document from our database, completing the CRUD operations. Okay, so to do this, let's go ahead and let's pick a vehicle to delete. Let's say BMW. Okay, so I'm going to say db.cars.remove1, and then I'm going to pass in type and BMW. Okay. So, oh yes, it's delete one, not remove one. Get my words mixed up. Delete one. Then we pass in type equal to BMW. Okay, so as we can see, it says delete account one. So now if we come, we see BMW, and when we refresh, we can see it has been removed. Okay, so that completes the full CRUD cycle. Now you know how to create, read, update, and delete data in your MongoDB database. Okay, and this is really what you're going to be doing 90% of the time, over and over again, just in different operations. Alrighty. So next, let's go ahead and let's talk about indexes. Okay, so oftentimes when we're querying data, if we happen to query a particular field over and over again, it's a good idea to create an index, which is just a copied order of that document, which then we can reference instead, and it will be a much quicker search. So, for example, if we come here and we look in our documents, we see if we have indexes. We see that ID is just immediately added as an index, okay? So we can create our own indexes for, specific fields that we feel, we're gonna be running queries on a lot and improve our overall performance, okay? So let's go ahead and let's create an index, okay? So we'll say db.cars.create index. And then we're just going to pass in type equal to 1. Remember, 1 evaluates to true. Okay, so from here, it's going to create an index for type, just like we have an index for ID. So we hit enter. We can see that it has been created. So we come back and we refresh. You can see now we have an index for type. So now when we run queries for types, it's going to be much, much faster. Especially, in larger, more big scale operations, it definitely makes a big difference. So moving right along, let's talk about one-to-many relationships. Okay, so one-to-many relationships are actually all over the internet, and they are existent in more than just NoSQL databases. They're existent in pretty much all databases, right? So that being said, how you set up a one-to-many relationship, that is different, okay? So today, we're just going to be simply using a referral system, okay? We're going to be tagging each item and grouping them in an array, and then, we can use populate if we need to later to get the actual values, okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and let's go to our MLab and our database, and let's create a couple new collections, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to base our scenario off of Yelp, okay? So we go yelp.com, and we can see that they have one-to-many relationship set up here, okay? So they have a place, right? This is like the category. I'm sorry, yeah, this is the category, and this is the place, right? So let's go ahead and let's do the same thing. We'll have categories and places. And one category will have many places, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a collection, and I'll call this categories. Okay, next let's add another collection, and we'll call this places. Okay, so now these are set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and let's create some places which we can then relate to these categories, okay? So I'm going to start off by creating a couple like entertainment places. So I'm going to say db.cars.insert1, and let's go ahead and let's consider here. Oh, that's what feels wrong. We're not doing cars. We're doing We're doing places. So yeah, let's say db.places. And from here, let's say dot insert one. And now let's enter the name. Okay, so we'll say name. Okay, and the name of the place maybe is Disneyland. Disneyland. Okay, and let's go ahead and let's give it a, yeah, let's actually just leave it at that. Okay, so we'll have this place Disneyland, right? And let's go ahead and let's create another one. Let's create Universal Studios. So let's say places, insert one. And we will say name for this one will be Universal Studios. Okay, and then let's create a third place. So this one, let's not do entertainment. Okay, let's do something completely different, like food. Okay, so we'll insert one. Say name of the food is Denny's. Okay, so from here we insert. Okay, and now if we come back, we refresh, you can see that we have 3 places, right? 3 documents. So Disneyland, Universal, and Denny's. So now what we can do is when we create the categories, we can associate each of these places with a category. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. Let's first create the entertainment category. Okay, so I'm going to say db.places, or I'm sorry, categories. Categories dot insert one. Okay, and the name of the category, I'll just call it entertainment. Entertainment. Okay, and then for the places, what I'm going to do is I'm going to populate an array full of the IDs. Okay, so I'm just going to take this ID here. Okay, and I'm going to take this second ID here for Universal Studios. Okay, and those are the only ones I want because those are the only entertainment places, right? So I'll go ahead and let's close this off. Okay, so we've got the array here, so we just need our brackets and our parentheses, and yeah. Okay, excellent. So it's inserted that. So let's go ahead and take a look at our, how do you say it, entertainment category. Okay, so we come back to our database, and in categories, we have a document now. And this document contains entertainment and the names of the places. Okay, so now we can populate these with, you know, the actual objects containing the names, the places, and the information about them anytime we need to. Okay, so let's do the same thing for our food category. Okay, so let's create a category for food. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say db.places.insert one, and we'll say name is gonna be food. Oh, I should say categories, not places. db.categories.insert one, and then I'll say name. And then for the name, let's go ahead and let's name it food. Okay, and then for the places associated with food, let's go ahead and let's take just Denny's down here because that's the only one we have, and let's place that like so. Okay, all right. So now let's go ahead and let's hit enter, and there we go. So let's come back to our database. We can see now that we have 2 categories in 3 places. Okay. And each category has the IDs of the places, right? So we can easily do other queries if we need to, and display all the places associated with given categories. So yeah, this in a nutshell how things like Yelp are working under the hood. Right, so let's go ahead and stop and open the floor for anyone who has any questions. Okay, so if you have those, you are unmuted and free to go. Any questions today, folks? Okay. If there are none, then have a great day and happy coding out there.